Hey guys, how are we doing? So do you want to know what the ultimate strategy for client acquisition and retention is? We've already discussed this on the previous video last week. Watch this video to find out what we discussed last week. This was all about client retention. How do we keep our clients? Well, before we get our clients, before we retain our clients rather, we need to get clients, right? So this week's video is all about making sure that the process of getting the clients into our doors works well. It's an amazing strategy to get us to build that trust that we need to build to be able to create that perfect relationship between the client and ourselves. And remember, we want to be working with our most perfect, amazing client avatar. So if you're excited about what this is going to entail, I want you to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to understand a little bit more about the Pilates induction process. So for those who don't know me, I'm Anita Hori, second-generation Pilates teacher under the lineage of Lolita San Miguel. I've also studied under Universal Pilates, Power Pilates, and Bob Leekens under the Romana lineage. So I understand both the classical and the contemporary worlds of Pilates. Now, I believe that any teacher, regardless of their background, should be working very hard to start building relationships with their clients. In that way, they're well on their way to create a fantastic Pilates business. And this is where the Pilates induction comes in. So the Pilates induction is the very first process that will take you to build that relationship and the trust that you need to be able to create that business that you want and scale it to the level that you like. Question. So how many of you actually get clients into their classes without knowing their name, having ever worked with them before, having ever seen their body in movement, and they're in there joining a class, especially these drop-in group classes, and not even understanding how they should be dealing with this particular client? Not only is this going to be a distraction for the class, but it's also not fair for the teacher involved. So if you are a teacher and perhaps you're working for another studio, this isn't really the right environment for you to be working in, because it's not fair on you not understanding the client. This is where you need to start building your own Pilates business and working in a strategy that is suitable for you and for the client alike. So don't be shy if you haven't ever experienced a Pilates induction process. Please send me comments below, because this is a very important process of the Pilates journey for the client. So having clients jumping into your classes without even knowing them is a huge no-no and a big distraction for the rest of the people in class. Okay, so some of you might say, well, I'll get to find out about their bodies as I'm working them, or I'm going to teach the body in front of me. Got it, granted, absolutely, very, very true. But then how do you know if the client hasn't had any injuries that are going to inhibit them from doing a specific exercise properly? How do you know if the client hasn't gone through some kind of emotional trauma that has generated some stress in their lives, and then they're coming into class and maybe they'll break down on you and you don't understand why that's happening? So stuff like this is very important to understand. And I'm not saying that you're a psychologist, far from it, but getting an idea, a little idea about who your client is, and especially when you're working them in a group situation, is important, because then you'll be able to tune into your class more fluidly and more efficiently. And it's okay for a seasoned instructor. And as your experience is going to grow, you're going to catch on this very quickly. You're going to figure out very quickly whether the client has got any particular pathologies, and perhaps you would eventually ask them if they've had any accidents, and then that would really make it understandable, make it comprehensive for you to understand that, yes, I can see that there's an imbalance in this client's body, and that's because of the accident they've had that they didn't tell me about, right? So if you don't have an idea of who your client is, and you're starting them, pushing them into a class, a group class, and even to a certain extent a private session, you really need to understand that there's some information that would be super crucial for you to be aware of before you start your sessions with your client. Now, if you wait until your client hops onto the reformer or on the mat and start moving, and you start noticing all these imbalances in their body, and then you start questioning them about maybe whether they've had any accidents in the past or whether they've had any particular pathologies, then not only are you distracting your client and perhaps the rest of your clients in the class at the time, but you're also giving a disservice to them because you are not giving 100% of teaching, giving them a movement where they should be focusing on just moving and not having conversations about what pathology has happened when. That is a huge disservice to the clients, and that's something that you really need to be avoiding. So how do we solve this? Easy. You solve it by creating and giving an induction program whereby you give a minimum of 2 sessions to the clients prior to them joining either group classes or even privates. And I'll explain a little bit more about what the induction process involves. But maybe some of you will say to me, well, there's no way the client, especially the drop-in client, is going to pay for this induction process, and they're never going to join our studio, and they're going to say it's way too expensive for them to join. Yeah, okay, well, if you have that doubt, if you really think that you aren't able to create that value to the client, and remember, building your relationship and building your trust with the client, and you're still doubting whether this is a good idea or not, I'd like you to watch this video over here. That's going to talk a little bit more about this. Okay, so what exactly is the induction process? The induction process consists of a series of private sessions between the teacher and the client, and it's really essentially a fact-finding journey for the teacher to be able to find out a lot more about the client, about their past injuries, current lifestyle, and their future goals. What are they aiming to achieve by coming to your studio, by doing Pilates with you? You get to find out what their pain points are and what their goals are. So there's a particular strategy and the process that we have to develop and we go through in order for you to find out what their goals are, how you're going to help them achieve their goals, what their pain points are, and how you're going to help them tackle these pain points and give them the life that they want. So what does the induction process look like? First of all the sessions in the induction process are private, one-to-one. You and your client, building your bond, building your relationship. So you will initially start on by providing the client with an enrollment form. So they'll fill in this enrollment form asking all sorts of relevant health and wellness questions. Plus, it also gives you the opportunity to explain to the client and notify the client of your current policies, all about your scheduling, your payment, your cancellation policies, the GDPR policy, and payment terms, and things about liability clauses. Once your forms are complete, you should be giving a static posture analysis to your client. Now, this is something that you should have learned to do whilst you were doing your Pilates teacher training program. Now, any comprehensive teacher training program should include this. If you have any doubts or questions about Pilates teacher training programs, please check out my own teacher training program, a 600-hour comprehensive program, and check out anitahoriacademy.com, where you find out a little bit more information about that. Now, once you've done your posture analysis, from the information you've gathered from that analysis, and perhaps you've done a gait analysis as well, and all the information that the client has given you in their enrollment form, you can relate back to the client any kind of explanation about what you found and how you plan to develop the sessions to be able to help their client achieve their goals, or as we said, remove their pain points that they came to you about. This shouldn't really take too long, about 15 to 20 minutes, absolutely maximum. Then you start working with your client, introducing them to the apparatus, introducing them to the exercises, and hopefully you'll be teaching them some Pilates principles that you have learned in your teacher training program. So any comprehensive Pilates teacher training program should go through some Pilates essentials, some really important principles of Pilates that will help the client understand the exercises as they follow through the program. And after you've done a static posture analysis in your first session, you will then start to see the clients working and moving, and you will continue to do dynamic posture analysis every time the client is working out. You will see their imbalances as they're moving on the equipment, whether it's on the mat, on the reformer, on the Cadillac. You start seeing where their imbalances are, and you will continuously give feedback in order for them to be able to get into that goal, reach that goal, or as I said before, remove that pain point that they've had. Now, the Pilates induction process should really involve other elements, such as specialist referrals, in which case you will need to gain permission from your clients to see if you can contact the specialist and find out a little bit more about the situation with your client in order for you to start working cohesively in the best interest of your clients. Likewise, you need to understand that if the client has got some pathologies that are way beyond your own ability, or you've got limitations as to where you can go, where you can go to, you have to refer out. And that's why it's a very important thing to have a network of other professionals handy so that you'll know who you can refer your clients to, just in case they are not for your hands. So you should also be giving your client homework in order for them to be able to do at home, and then thus you know that Pilates doesn't stop just when they leave the studio, but they can continue these exercises at home. This not only gives added value to the client, but it also shows your level of professionalism and showing that interest in the client's health, the client's well-being, and to show the client that you are there with them in their journey, even when they're not in the studio. Now, these elements are really going to help you build that level of professionalism that would be really highly valued in the industry within other professionals as well. And then you'll know that you can cross-refer to other professionals when the clients are not of your hands, they're not of your ability, you refer out, and likewise other people will refer back to you because they know that you are the expert in your field. If you want to know more about the induction process, maybe have access to some induction forms, posture analysis forms, and figure out the best strategy to work a Pilates induction process specifically for your studio, hop on to my Wellpreneur Business Revolution program, which involves a 6 or a 9-month program where I work one-to-one with individuals, with Pilates teachers just like yourself who are wishing to build their studio, build their business, and create better relationships with their clients, working with their perfect client avatars and scaling their business to a level they've never seen before. If you like this video and are excited about it just like I have been, please don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe, and don't forget the bell. And on that, I'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.